Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining. I'm out here in kind of the middle of the, not the middle, but on the outskirts of the Mojave Desert. It's a gorgeous sunset that's getting ready to happen. I want to show you guys. It is absolutely gorgeous. Look at the far, I guess it's not picking it up, but it is absolutely beautiful out here. Anyway, enough of that. The reason why I am out here in the Mojave Desert is because I just need to get away. I needed to purge some of the negative vibrations I'd been picking up on the work I've been doing. And I found that the more isolated I can be, the more grounding it is and the more centered I become. First off, I would like to remind everybody that this is for entertainment purposes only. For legal reasons, I don't want to give anybody the ability to come after me. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm nobody. I'm just somebody who is full spectrum conscious, who truly loves myself, and because I truly love myself, that requires me to love you unconditionally as well. Otherwise, I would be feeling sorry for myself. And if you're wondering why I have my shirt off, because it's hot as hell out here. It's, as the sun is setting, it's still 116 degrees. But I love it. You know, it's a nice dry heat. It's so quiet and peaceful out here. I mean, off in the distance, you can hear the echoing of traffic. It's amazing how acoustically it carries, but you know, that's okay. Anyways, some of the things that I have been doing is, those of you who've been following along, I had set up my NDOC with the LA mission. After I left Las Vegas, I went and I did my LA mission and NDOC. And the problem that I ran up against is they do not want you to give your personal phone number to the homeless, your email address, your web page, or anything. That is violating the rules and you can be kicked out of the volunteer program. The issue I have with that is, talk about making the homeless feel like a disease. You know, I have met I've been on the road now about a month. I started the documentary back in February, and I've spoke with, interviewed, whatever you want to call it, upwards, I'd say 500 people now. And I've had people, you know, if you read the comments, you'll see one person saying that, oh, I'm going to end up getting myself killed as soon as I don't have something to give them, you know, making the homeless sound like they're just monsters. And honestly, I've only had one homeless person I came up against that was anything but kind and courteous and appreciative. And all I was giving them was cold water, cold bottles of water that I'd pull around in a wagon. I never felt threatened. I never felt like I was annoying them. They honestly just felt like a friend that I was talking to. And as I talked to them, I kept asking, what could the world do to help their situation? And a reoccurring thing I kept hearing over and over and over was, they want to be homeless because their brain, their illusion, the 10% of the brain is just done dealing with the lies of society. I mean, granted, you know, a large portion of homeless people have alcohol issues or drug issues or mental health issues. But the truth of the matter is, the homeless people that I've spoke with and I've interviewed, honestly, I feel they're way more conscious than the average person watching this video. That's hard to say. You know, but if you stop and think about it, you know that the people who've gone through the hardest things in life end up being some of the best people. Why? Because they've gained their consciousness. And these people, the homeless people that I've spoke with, they have gained so much consciousness, and everything I talk to them about purging the negative out of the brain, they totally get it. Way more understand what's going on than evidently the rest of the world. Because look at how many views. I can see most people don't even make it past 5 minutes watching one of my videos. That's okay. You know, I'm doing all of this, even if it's just for one person I can touch in the world, to get them to gain their consciousness. Because it is so easy. We have fear, and our fear is that we're afraid to lose our comforts. We don't want to lose all the cozy comforts. But yet, if you take the time enough to research whoever you feel your higher power is, and listen to what they say, and listen to it from a positive perspective, like the Jesus Only Words book that I've mentioned before, you will find that this is simply your instruction manual on how to become one with your creator within you. I mean, you know that there's more firing neurons than there are stars and planets in the universe. Stop and think about that. You have more firing neurons in your brain that are simultaneously processing all these vibrations than there are stars in the universe. Now stop and think again about how much energy it truly takes to be able to process all those vibrations simultaneously. Now, look at what you eat on a daily basis. Do you really think that what you're eating on a daily basis, because hey, I'll even say myself, we eat what we know we're not supposed to. We treat our bodies horribly, but yet we still have this phenomenal amount of energy within ourselves. Why is that? You know, when are we going to, as a whole, step up and realize that this isn't our energy? Sure, we feel like we're tired and we're exhausted. Well, honestly, that's because we're starting to feel sorry for ourselves. Doesn't it make sense? Now you'll notice I'm going to start using an iPad for little clip notes, because there's a lot of information that I want to cover, and I don't want to have people feel like I started a subject and then left you hanging. Granted, I'll probably end up doing that anyways because my mind is going 100 miles an hour. But having little clip notes will hopefully help me stay a little more on track. So going back to the LA mission, once I saw that I'm not allowed to reach out to these homeless, not allowed to give them opportunity to have resources, not allowed to even give them love and support if they need it, I decided that, you know, that's not who I am. That's not why I'm doing this. That's actually the opposite. Now stop and think. I understand why they have that in place, you know, and I'm not saying you guys are intentionally, you know, projecting negative onto the homeless. I understand that there's fear that a homeless person might attack somebody or stalk somebody or whatever. Okay, well, just like a soldier, when they join the military, they know they're putting their life on the line. There's a risk. Okay, if a volunteer is willing to volunteer with what's considered one of the worst places on earth, they have to accept and use their own common sense and their heart to know what's a wise move and what's not. I mean, if you're a attractive female and you have some guy that's asking for your home number, okay, a bell might ring in your head that that's not a logical decision. And if you don't have that mechanism to tell you, if you're not conscious enough to know whether or not you're making a bad decision, well then go volunteer at the soup kitchen or go volunteer somewhere else. Don't go to what's considered one of the worst places on earth. Because these people that are homeless, what they need more than anything is love. They need the positive vibrations. And if they're going to a shelter and everybody's kind of, shying away from them, do you really feel that they feel that they're cared about? Or are we basically volunteering for ourselves? I mean, think about it. How many of the volunteers are doing it because it makes them feel good? It makes the volunteer feel good. How many of them are doing it strictly out of unconditional, undeserving love for the homeless? And those of you who are, I love you guys. You guys are freaking amazing, and please contact me because more of us need to pull together. And those of you who are scared of the homeless, well, maybe you might start getting yourself centered and start realizing that we're all connected. Think of them as your brothers and sisters and think about it. They've been through probably way worse things than you can even imagine. But one thing I did as I kept speaking with the homeless, as I'd get done talking with them, I would ask them to tell me 3 positive things before I stopped talking to them. All I wanted them to do was come up with 3 positive things within their life. That way, I knew, they knew life was still worth living. Every single one of them could come up with 3 positive things. Not a single one struggled. Now stop and think. Here we are, the average person has way better amenities than a homeless person does by any means. I mean, especially in this scorching weather that's taking place across the world right now. Those of you who have air conditioning, how many of you are depressed? How many of you, feel like life isn't worth living anymore? It's because the more we are surrounded by our comforts, the more we want. In the last, month and a half, since my family brought, extreme negative towards me, I have gotten rid of every ounce of everything other than what I have on the road with me. And I do not have a single person in my life that communicates with me on a regular basis that really even gives a shit. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm at total peace with that because I know why my family, doesn't want to talk to me. I know why viewers are not liking, disliking, commenting very much on this documentary is because you're not conscious. Your brain is still looking at the negative first, which is preoccupying majority of your thought. I have tried to volunteer with drug rehabs. I've tried to volunteer with the suicide hotline. And what I find rather interesting is in order to be a drug and alcohol counselor, you have to have prior addiction issues. In order to be a suicide helpline volunteer, you have to have battled suicide issues, or at least Great Depression. Now think about that. Why would we not allow someone who hasn't battled these issues to help people who have find the positive in everything? If we truly find positive in every single negative experience, then I guarantee you the trauma is virtually non-existent. I mean, think about it. a very traumatic example would be if you're driving along in your car and you get in a car accident and you lose your leg. I've heard many people, oh, if I lost my leg, I'd kill myself. That's horrible. Stop and think. If you got in a car accident and you lost your leg, stop and think of all the positive. You get to see your family again. You still get to continue living life. You still get to work on becoming one with your God, gaining your consciousness. It's not over. There's a reason why your life isn't over. So instead of us taking for granted everything virtually in life, all the positive, we have to start looking at every bit of positive and start purging all the negative. You know, when you think about Western medicine, and Western medicine tends to treat the symptoms. I mean, we all know that's generally accepted. Western medicine treats the symptoms. You take like Asian medicine, it takes more of a holistic approach. Mind, body, and soul, those of you that don't know what holistic means, they tend to use more natural medicine. Now, think about it. Western medicine is treating the symptoms. Okay, that is a prime example of looking at the negative first. Instead of looking at the whole picture as far as, okay, what is causing this? And instead of putting a Band-Aid on it, you know, let's address the whole issue. And a lot of times, mental health is the first negative. So when we look at homeless and we basically think, oh, we got to get them, you know, low-income housing and so on and so on. Instead of actually stepping back and realizing majority of these people are homeless because they're done with the negative first approach. They're done playing into the games of society. Society looks at them and says, oh, basically, they don't want to see them on the streets because they don't like seeing them in their neighborhoods. So let's give them low-income housing so we don't have to see them. But then the homeless have to go right back in to playing into the illusion, and the illusion is always looking at the negative first. Think about the movie The Matrix. I've mentioned this before. So the co-producer of The Matrix, I can't even remember the name. You can look it up, you'll find it. It's very easy to find. Said that the story is about the issues of being transgender in modern day society, the battles of it. And they knew that they couldn't make the movie about that because nobody would really even want to watch it back then. Now, you know, a lot of people would probably want to watch it, and kudos to you guys. But they felt that The Matrix was examples of how hard it is to be transgender and how not being accepted, because they were looking at the negative first instead of looking at the positive of, oh my gosh, look at what this movie actually says. Look at how it portrays the illusion, the 10% of the brain, the negative first, and how it can take the approach of only accepting the positive and going after that, and in essence, bringing balance to the world. You know, I've talked to a lot of people that are gaining their consciousness and they're waking up. And almost every single one of them wants to share with the world, you know, what they're feeling. It's this burning desire inside to share the love with the whole world, share the positive. But there's different levels of gaining your consciousness. And one thing I try to encourage in everybody that I talk to is what is so crucial is before you can bring balance to the world, you must bring balance to yourself. And in order to bring balance to yourself, you have to start off by unconditionally, undeservingly loving yourself. And then, if you truly love yourself that way, with grace, then you're going to start realizing all these comforts that we consider are actually not really comforts at all. They're lies. I mean, because how could a multi-million-dollar home truly be giving us comfort when we're all connected, we're all one, and the world is in essence, in devastation? Look around. You know, stop and think. NATO is not allowing Ukraine to join yet. They say they're going to, but they're waiting. Now stop and think about that. Okay, if they wait, the Ukraine army is going to be very, very depleted. The Russian army is going to definitely be hurt, you know, less powerful, if you will. And then all of a sudden, NATO, which we all know that it's basically US and our buddies, NATO is going to step in right on Russia's border, and they're going to set up big time. Now don't fool yourself, and don't allow yourself to stop and think about the positive that our so-called conscious people in the Pentagon and Congress and so on. Don't think for a moment that they didn't see the positive of all of this taking place. We're going to be right on Russia's border in full force. Now, think of China. Same issue there with Taiwan. And realize there's this base called Subic Bay in the Philippines that we left 30 years ago. But now we're remanning full bore. Now stop and ask yourself, why would we be doing that if a major entire world conflict isn't getting ready to happen? Anyway, I don't want to run this too long because I know most people don't listen past the first 5 minutes. So I just want to say I love you guys. I'm at peace. I hope you guys get an opportunity to go out in the middle of nowhere by yourself. Don't take your cell phone, don't take music, nothing. Just go by yourself out in nature and just listen. And most importantly, listen to your heart. I love you guys. Have a good night.